The laugh that destroyed a $40 million empire lasted exactly 3.7 seconds. Madison Whitmore, 24-year-old daughter of Manhattan's most feared defense attorney, threw her head back in Judge Judy's courtroom and laughed. Not a nervous giggle, a full-throated, mocking, theatrical cackle that sliced through the silence like a knife. Judge Judy had asked her to remove her Gucci sunglasses. That's it, a simple request, and Madison Whitmore decided to laugh in her face. The cameras caught everything, every flash of her whitened teeth, every condescending tilt of her chin, every flick of her $4 Zosen manicured nails as she finally, slowly, pulled those sunglasses down to the tip of her nose and smirked like she was staring at the help. What Madison didn't know was that those 7 seconds would become the most replayed courtroom clip in internet history. What she didn't know was that her father's Park Avenue law firm, his 30 years of buying judges and burying victims, would burn to ash in 6 weeks. And what she absolutely didn't know was that Judge Judy had spent the previous night reading a sealed file her father paid $250,000 to bury forever. Madison walked into that courtroom like she was attending a Manhattan gala. An $18,000 Hermes Birkin bag dangled from her wrist. Her $200 Versace blazer screamed old money. Diamond studs the size of blueberries sparkled in her ears. A gift from Daddy for surviving another year of being misunderstood. A chauffeur had dropped her off in a midnight blue Bentley Bentayga, right at the courthouse steps. Her 2 friends, daughters of Wall Street executives, followed her inside with their phones out, ready to film her destroying this old TV judge for her 340,000 Instagram followers. To Madison, courtrooms weren't places of consequence. They were stages where Daddy wrote checks and problems disappeared. She'd been arrested 4 times before turning 24, age 17. Crashed Daddy's Porsche through a deli window while drunk. Charges dropped age 18. Dislocated a waiter's jaw for serving uncivilized wine. Charges dropped age 21. Caught with an ounce of cocaine at a Hamptons party. Charges dropped age 23. Sued her own grandmother for emotional damages when she wouldn't release her trust fund early, every single time. Daddy made it vanish. That's why what came out of her mouth next ended her freedom forever. Judge Judy leaned forward with the patience of a woman who'd been disrespected for 35 years. Miss Whitmore, please remove your sunglasses and address this court properly. Madison locked eyes with her and smiled. Honey, my dad eats judges like you for breakfast. You should know your place before you embarrass yourself on national television. Silence complete. Suffocating. Silence. The court reporter's fingers froze mid-keystroke. The bailiff's hand drifted toward his belt. The audience didn't breathe. Madison's smirk wavered. Just for half a second, as a something primal in her brain whispered that she'd just made a catastrophic mistake. But to understand the magnitude of what was about to unfold, you need to know who Sarah Chin was, because she wasn't just another small claims plaintiff. Sarah Chin was a 31-year-old pediatric nurse, working overnight shifts in a children's cancer ward. While her twin 6-year-old slept 30 blocks away, she held dying children's hands at 3 a.m., born in Taiwan, immigrated at 12, learned English watching American sitcoms while working 3 jobs through nursing school. 2 years ago, her husband David, a Marine reservist and construction worker, was killed when scaffolding collapsed at a Manhattan job site. He left her a folded flag, a funeral bill, and 2 daughters who still cried for Daddy every night. Sarah hadn't slept 8 full hours since the day he died. For 4 years, she saved every spare dollar, skipped lunches, repaired shoes with electrical tape, refused birthday gifts, all to buy a used 2014 Honda Civic with 87,000 miles. That little silver car was her entire world. It drove her to overnight shifts. It carried Lily and Grace to school. It was the only thing standing between her family and complete collapse. Then one Tuesday at 3:14 a.m., while Sarah comforted a leukemia patient inside the hospital, Madison Whitmore ran a red light at 60 miles per hour blood alcohol level, nearly 3 times the legal limit. She slammed Daddy's Bentley into Sarah's parked Civic, with such force it launched 15 feet down the street and crumpled into unrecognizable metal. Madison didn't call 911. Madison called Daddy. Within 22 minutes, a man in a black suit arrived, paid the supervising officer in cash, and made the incident vanish from official records. The next morning, Sarah walked outside to drive home. Her car was gone. 3 days later, She received a letter from a Park Avenue law firm offering her exactly $800 to resolve any potential disputes, less than 10% of her car's value, wrapped in a threat, refuse, and will pursue aggressive legal remedies that may result in significant financial consequences for you and your dependents. For 8 months, Sarah took Ubers she couldn't afford. Missed 11 workdays, came within 9 days of eviction, watched her daughters cry when she couldn't take them to school anymore. Judge Judy was her last hope. Madison strolled into the courtroom 12 minutes late, chewing pink bubblegum, AirPods blasting, Gucci sunglasses still on. She swung her Birkin bag against the wooden railing like a weapon and dropped into her chair like it was a spa lounger. Her friends raised their iPhones from the gallery, recording everything. Across the room, Sarah sat in her worn nursing scrubs, hands trembling, clutching a beige folder with receipts and photos of Lily and Grace. She hadn't slept in 22 hours. Judge Judy waited, watched, made no expression, then spoke. "Miss Whitmore, please remove your sunglasses." Madison sighed theatrically and slid them to the top of her head. "Miss Whitmore, please remove your AirPods." Madison rolled her eyes so hard the audience gasped. She dropped the AirPods into her Birkin, then added, "Fine, but make this quick. I have a lunch reservation at Le Bernardin at 1:30, and I will not be late." The entire courtroom flinched. Madison didn't wait to be asked. She launched into her rehearsed monologue. "Look, Your Honor, this whole thing is ridiculous. This person's car was basically trash, 12 years old, 80-something thousand miles, worth maybe $800 on a generous day. Honestly, I did her a favor. Now she has an excuse to upgrade from that disgusting Honda." She glanced at Sarah and mocked her accent. "She comes in here with her little folder and her sad little story. Some of us were born to drive Bentleys. Some people were born to drive Hondas. That's just how the world works. I can't apologize for being successful." Sarah's folder trembled in her shaking hands. Tears filled her eyes. Judge Judy's voice cut like steel. "Miss Whitmore, in this courtroom we use names. Mrs. Chin has a name, use it." Madison threw her head back and laughed. "Mrs. Chin, happy now, Judge." Then came the trap. "Miss Whitmore, what is your current occupation?" "I don't have one. I don't need one." "What is your source of income?" "My father provides for me generously." "What is the current status of your driving record?" Madison didn't hesitate. "Spotless. Completely clean. I'm an excellent driver." Each answer was a noose tightening around her own neck. Then Judge Judy leaned forward. "Miss Whitmore, do you understand the seriousness of what brought you here today?" Madison laughed again. Louder, performative. "Honestly, Judge, no. Because my dad eats judges like you for breakfast. He's argued in front of the Supreme Court. You're a television personality. You should know your place before you embarrass yourself on national television." She turned to the camera and held her smirk. 11 seconds of silence. Judge Judy didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe. Madison's smirk began to crack. By second 8, her eyes darted toward her friends. By second 10, her lips parted. The warning scream finally reached her brain. She'd just made the worst mistake of her life. Smash that like button if you believe no one, not even a millionaire's daughter, should be above the law. Subscribe and turn on notifications because what Judge Judy reveals next will leave you speechless. The 11 seconds ended. Judge Judy leaned forward 1 inch and spoke in a voice so low, so controlled, so lethal that the entire courtroom felt the temperature drop. "Miss Whitmore, I'm so glad you mentioned your father, because I'd like to talk about him too." Madison's smirk evaporated. Judge Judy reached into her desk drawer and pulled out a manila folder, nearly 2 inches thick. She laid it down with the slow, deliberate weight of a guillotine. Madison's eyes locked onto that folder. Her mouth opened. The pink bubblegum fell out and landed on her $4,200 blazer. She didn't notice. "Let's begin with your driving record. The one you just told this court, under oath, was spotless." Judge Judy opened the folder. March 2019, DUI on the West Side Highway. Charge dismissed November 2020. DUI in the Hamptons after striking a parked vehicle. Charge dismissed June 2021. Reckless endangerment, 9-5 through a school zone. Charge dismissed August 2021. Road rage incident on the FDR. Charge dismissed February 2022. Leaving the scene of an accident. Charge dismissed April 2023. Third DUI on the Brooklyn Bridge. Charge dismissed. She removed her glasses and stared into Madison's soul. "Tell me, Miss Whitmore, Did you forget about these 6 incidents? Or did you simply assume I wouldn't find them? Madison's mouth opened, closed. No words. Her friends lowered their phones. Judge Judy wasn't finished. Since January 2019, you've been connected to 47 separate incidents involving property damage, collisions, or assault. She slid forward a document. 47. And in every single case, the victim received the same template letter from your father's firm, the same predatory settlement, the same threat. She lifted 3 pages. Mrs. Eleanor Hayes, 68, grocery store cashier. You sideswiped her car. Offered her $400. Mr. James Patterson, 20, college student. You ran over his bicycle and broke his collarbone. Offered him $600. Mrs. Angela Reyes, pediatric nurse. You backed into her car. Offered her $700. Judge Judy's voice dropped to a whisper that filled the room. You don't have a driving problem, Miss Whitmore. You have a humanity problem. Sarah was openly crying. The bailiff stepped closer. Madison was shaking. And then, there's this. Judge Judy pulled out a sealed envelope. This was sent to me 3 weeks ago by someone inside your father's law firm. A young woman who spent 2 years drowning in the moral weight of covering up your crimes. A woman who couldn't sleep anymore. A woman who walked into a FedEx office and did the bravest thing she's ever done. She opened it. Marcus Davis, 34 years old, delivery driver, father of 3, October 14, 2022. You struck him with your father's Bentley while he crossed 23rd Street on his bicycle. Blood alcohol, 0.9. He was thrown 42 feet, his spine severed at the L2 vertebra. He's been paralyzed from the waist down for 3 years and 7 months. Madison's face drained of all color. Your father's fixer arrived before the ambulance. Paid the officer $8,000 cash, bribed the ER nurse to misfile the toxicology report, then visited Marcus in rehab and offered him $50,000 and an NDA so tight his family couldn't speak publicly for 3 years. Judge Judy's voice cracked with rage. Marcus Davis's family has been on Medicaid for 3 years. His wife quit her job to be his caregiver. His 9-year-old son helps lift him out of bed before school. And you've been posting yacht photos, captioned "Rules are for poor people." Mascara streamed down her face in black rivers. You can't use that, she screamed. That's privileged. My father will sue you. My father will destroy. Judge Judy cut her off. Your father is not here, sweetheart, and privilege ends where felony obstruction of justice begins. Then came the hammer. This court is referring your case to the Manhattan District Attorney for immediate criminal prosecution. Vehicular assault, leaving the scene, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and perjury. Because you lied under oath 12 minutes ago, I'm awarding Mrs. Sarah Chin the maximum. $10,000 plus full legal fees. This whistleblower file is going to the FBI's Public Corruption Unit. Because the 2019 dismissal involved a sitting judge on your firm's payment ledger, and I'm formally recommending the New York State Bar investigate your father, Richard Whitmore. She paused. Bailiff, take her into custody. Now. She slid off her chair onto the floor, her Birkin spilling across the carpet, sobs turning to screams. Daddy, somebody call Daddy, Daddy please. Sarah buried her face in her hands and wept, not in triumph but exhausted vindication. The audience rose in spontaneous applause that lasted a full minute. In 90 seconds, Judge Judy had done what 47 victims and 5 years of cover-ups could not. She brought Madison Whitmore to justice. But the destruction of the Whitmore empire had only just begun. The clip went viral before Madison finished booking 4 hours. 12 million views 24 hours. 87 million views 72 hours. 187 million views. The most watched courtroom moment in internet history, trending in 23 countries. 3 hashtags exploded. Maximum sentence Judge Judy justice. 14 million tweets. 9 days trending. Daddy can't save you. 23 million uses in 1 week. Madison's 340,000 Instagram followers turned on her like wolves. Within 18 hours, her account was deleted, but screenshots lived forever. Her 2 friends were fired from their Manhattan internships within 48 hours. A stranger in Phoenix started a GoFundMe. Justice for Sarah and her daughters. 6 days later, $487. Views raised from 31,000 donors. Madison's fall spent 11 days in Manhattan detention, indicted on 7 federal charges, sentenced to 4 years in prison, 14 million, frozen mother. Filed for divorce. 11 days after the verdict, lost her freedom, family, wealth, followers, friends. And even her last name Richard Whitmer's collapsed disbarment proceedings. 14 days 6 major clients fired him. 10 days law firm dissolved. 6 weeks indicted on 23 federal counts, including RICO violations maximum sentence. 47 years, $11 million penthouse seized. The man who ate judges for breakfast was now eating cold prison food off a plastic tray. Sarah's transformation with the GoFundMe money. Paid off every debt, bought a reliable car, put a down payment on a house where Lily and Grace could walk safely. To school, donated $50,000 to a legal defense fund for hit-and-run victims. She returned to her nursing shifts. My patients still need me. She and Marcus Davis's family became close friends. The case became a Harvard Law study on judicial courage. 14 states introduced Sarah Chin laws tightening hit-and-run penalties. Judge Judy received the ABA Lifetime Service Award. The clip, 240+ million views, but the most powerful moment isn't Madison's collapse. It's the quiet dignity on Sarah Chin's face when she realized justice was for people like her. 2. Money buys lawyers. Lawyers buy delays. But none of it buys the truth forever. Every Madison eventually walks into the wrong courtroom. And on that day, no last name is bigger than the truth. If this story moved you, smash that like button. Subscribe and hit notifications so you never miss another moment when entitled bullies face real consequences. Comment below and share this with someone who needs to remember. In Judge Judy's courtroom, and in life, respect isn't optional, and neither are the consequences.